My name is Lex, and this is Bronx. We bought and renovated this Airstream and this camper, this tiny home, then this Airstream, then another Airstream, and finally we designed and built this tiny home. And now I'm on a mission to learn about the best travel experiences across the world. Welcome to Experiential Travel. When I was building my own portfolio, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm sure like other people. And I didn't really have anyone to learn from when I was first starting this. So the whole idea was to kind of document other people's experiences and what they've done well and what they've done not well, in order to basically create this educational piece for people that are starting this journey on people that are actually doing it. So not fake gurus on the internet, but real people that are actually in the business talking about their experience. So I can kind of document that as like an educational piece of material that people can basically reference and take as fact, because it's people in the actual industry doing it.
That's nice. So you kind of have a dual intention. You get to learn a little bit along the way from interviewing people, and then also you are actually building a podcast, that's...
Yeah. So the whole idea is to build a community around it, but more importantly, it's the community, the industry has given me so much, and I'm sure like you as well, that like I felt a little obligated to give back and to do my part in helping the next people start their journey. So.
Are you running your locations by yourself, or do you have like a partner or something, or?
So I have investors that I work with, but I manage everything. It's all it's my ideations, and then they are basically the finance backing per unit. So each unit has their own investor. I own some outright with my own money, and then if I bring on a partner, it's only finance.
That's nice. It's a different ball game coming from America. I sometimes talk to the founder of Collective Retreats, which he also raised a lot of money. And if you come to Scandinavia, you can't really raise any money for anything like unique experiences. It's all based on new energy and technology. It's not the same culture for investing, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Why can't you get funding typically?
Well, Scandinavia is based on that the government usually is paying for what's worth to invest in. So anything that has to do with innovation or like new ideas and concepts, they have their portfolio, like they have their focus areas, and it's mostly new energy and technology. And so...
Oh wow!
It's just not enough.
So a glamping unit isn't the top on the on the list for them.
I mean, I've been around presenting because I would like to have investors, but I guess this is some of the questions that you are, at least the ones that I got sent. I'm self-financed, and so it's...
That's amazing.
It could be nice to grow faster, but I also like the boutique kind of growth where things grow slow. Mm-hmm. As you said, there's so much to learn along the way. So,
and you retain a lot of more ownership. I like the idea of... I don't know. A lot of people I talk to, I think, are super successful because it's their creative head and creative juices being put into the physical universe. Mm-hmm. And when you start bringing in external financial partners that want to try to put their creative juices in it, that clash doesn't always work. Sometimes it's beautiful synergy, but if you try to bring in financial partners that then have a certain way that they think it does, and then it's like basically half-assed both ways instead of just committing to a vision. And I mean, that your property is stunning, and I could see it, like the intentionality behind your properties and how, I mean, you don't see those type of properties anywhere in the world. Like, I know in America, there's nothing like what you guys have. We have geodesic dome hotels, but there's a difference between geodesic dome hotels and your igloos.
Yeah.
I mean, your igloos are just remarkable. I'm going to do a quick introduction. And so without further ado, our guest today is the owner of 6 glass-igloos. And one is like a glass-igloo treehouse. It's amazing. It's incredible. In Oslo, Norway. I've never been to, or near Oslo, Norway. I've never been to Norway, and I could tell you that if I was going to travel there, I'd only stay at this guest, today's guest place. And it is, I mean, it's something real special. I'm going to try not to butcher the name of his place. It's called HvilePust. HvilePust.
Yay!
HvilePust. Yes. And today's guest is Rolf Leer.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for joining,
me.
man. So take me to the beginning. What led you get into glamping? Is this kind of like, did you know you always wanted to do this eventually, or what kind of led you down this path?
No, I absolutely didn't know that I was going to go into glamping. I had 5 years in New York where I was building up a publication, and then COVID hit. I had to move back to Norway, and I was quite confused, almost got into like an identity crisis, because when you live in New York and you accomplish something there, then you are associated with the guy who have the balls to do something different, at least here in Scandinavia.
Where in New York did you live?
I lived actually 6 different places, so but I ended up living in Williamsburg. It's kind of the capital of Scandinavia in New York. So
okay.
It was almost like a cliche ending up there.
We just missed each other. I lived in the city for 3 years and then moved at COVID as well.
Oh, and what area do you live in?
I was on 10th and 1st, so East Village.
Okay. So we have been almost neighbors for a while, for sure.
Yeah, basically we're long lost best friends. It's no big deal.
So I was then running this publication called Quoted New York. It was a love letter to New York from the people who live there, and it was an amazing journey. But then I was kind of forced to move back to Norway, and I lost a little bit of myself in that process. I used nature to, in Scandinavia we are quite known for going into nature, for hiking, just for the tranquility of it, and you don't need to have a goal of getting somewhere. It's like what the French people call flaneur, I think, when you just walk without a purpose. I walked a lot in nature, and I kind of found my answer there, where I was like, okay, this is, I want to give experiences to people in nature, but I'm also not a camper, so I am definitely not, about sleeping in a sleeping bag under the stars. I need something more comfortable. I started looking into, treetop cabins and tents that are, with furniture and everything. I've seen those for a while, but I wanted to do something different. So I started looking up domes and found these glass-igloos with, 360 transparency. And thought, okay, that's going to be my next move. And I think what drove me there is kind of my entrepreneurial spirit, just because I like to create something. So it comes more from, at least in the beginning, it came a lot from just wanting to create something and an experience for people. So
that's awesome. Okay, so the first step would be learning how to do it. You got inspired, but then there's a big educational hurdle that people have to go through in order to start this. Were there any resources that you hung on to, or was it just kind of pirate and bum, you figure it out as you go.
More or less learning by doing. I didn't have any people around me that I could go to and ask for help. I have to admit, though, that I was trying when I lived in New York to go with a tenter, to go and camp with one of their tents. And I had a good experience with just leaving the city and lowering my shoulders and be with, a friend for a weekend. And I am quite okay with understanding business models. So just looking at Tenter and the way that they had built their model is what I replicated. I kind of stole their business model, where I am not running the sites myself. I'm partnering up with landowners. And so they know, the uniqueness of their area, and they are the host for the experience. And then I can do what I'm good at, which is marketing, communication, and I do customer service and growth strategy and all of those things. But I'm really not hands-on with the actual experience that guests are having.
So the land that your units are on are not, you don't own that land?
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
walk me through how you were able to find landowners that were wanting to and willing to do this experience with you.
That was a struggle in the beginning, because then it was so new to people, like farmers, landowners. So they didn't know really whether this was a serious proposal or if it was just like, okay, another jerk who comes along and is trying to do something, like partnering up.
And you have no proof of concept. You can't show them rental income. There's literally nothing besides what's in your head.
No, but I was kind of going in through the municipalities, because my sites are based, like a maximum of 2 hours drive from Oslo, but it then ranged from one end to the other, like those would be 4 hours drive in between. And so they are quite spread out, but in the area around Oslo. And so some of the municipalities, they were really helpful with connecting me with landowners that they knew would be a good fit. So that was one approach. And then something else was just, Googling. That was, it always works.
Wait, so the county and your municipality actually helped you find landowners?
Yeah, because there are, as here in Norway, farmers are in a little bit of a challenging situation where they don't have enough revenue, because that's a bigger additional income.
Sources of income.
I don't want to say lucky, but I'm thankful for that the municipalities wanted to be connecting me to some of the landowners, and then some of them I just found myself and had meetings, and then we agreed. And some failed, 70% of the people that I did talk to and had just a initial meeting with, that was not a match.
Yeah. It's amazing the difference between the United States and Norway.
Oh, yeah.
Typically in the United States, the municipalities are against you, and they're not on your side. They don't want you to do this. And if they do want you to do it, you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in permitting fees and road constructions, and it's a nightmare typically working with municipalities, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air to hear someone on the opposite coin of that, being able to have a municipality that's on their side, that works with them and is actually helping them find the landowners. So 70% of the landowners you talk to, no go, but the 30% did work.
Yeah.
Are your units all separated on different pieces of land, or is it just one landowner that you ended up working with and finding?
No, so there are now 5 different landowners. So one of the landowners have 2 of these igloos. the rest of them have only one. But my ambitions now, moving forward, is to build more of a hub that is more directed towards B2B, so that you would have 6, 7 of these igloos, and then be able to invite for small group seminars and like team building and stuff like that. But for now, there's 5 landowners.
So you find these landowners, you want to do this type of structure. I'm interested in knowing the complications of dealing with 5 different landowners, because typically the people that I talk to that have, a lot of them have one site with multiple structures, right? And you kind of went the opposite approach where you have multiple sites with 1 or 2 structures on them each. The people that I've talked to recently that have done that strategy, they own the land. How is it dealing with 5 different landowners? Do you have the same structured deal with all 5 of them? And then how is that deal process with talking to each one?
I mean, it's been a pain in the ass at some point in every process. But every landowner have the same agreement contract. So of course there is like a I'm looking for an English word here, but there's we split some of the income.
A revenue split?
Yeah, revenue split, and that is the same for everyone. But of course.
Do you mind if I ask what that revenue split looks like?
Yeah, it's 60% for HvilePust. So for the company itself, and then 40% for the landowner.
Oh wow, that's a pretty hefty landowner percentage.
Yeah, but they are the host, and they also take care of the cleaning, and they have to replace some of the, like candle lights, like some candies that we give out, like wood. So
they're not just landowners; they're also like an on-site property manager.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's not like rent their spot; they have an active role in it.
Oh, that's amazing then. Yeah, I mean so 60% would be, and then did you finance the structures?
Yeah.
So you provided. What about the decking as well?
Say that again.
The decks where they sit on? The wood structure where the igloos sit on.
So I'm investing in the igloo itself, in all the interior design, in what is it called again?
Revenue?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for something else, but anyway. So it's I'm taking most of the economical risk in this.
Gotcha.
And the landowner have to pay for the fundament. So they are building like the platform where the igloo is put on. The rest of it is on me. So in the beginning, now coming back to that question, with all of these landowners, they had too little invested in this partnership. So 3 of my original landowners, they resigned from the contract before it had been 1 year. And I have learned a lot from that. Because that is an expensive move. Just moving the igloos, finding new landowners, building up, the web page, the bookings, like insurance, all of these things, they add up. So today there's a little bit more of a waterproof contract where they also have to invest a little bit more. So if they go out before it's been 2 years, like if they want to resign before it's been 2 years, they have to pay a fee.
And did you set it up because people were resigning too quickly? You wanted to basically put in the contract that they that this was going to be a longevity partnership rather than something that's more short term?
Definitely. There needs to be an ownership with the landowners, and I'm very careful every time that I find a new landowner to have, a deep dialogue about what their expectations are and what my expectations are. Because one thing is to have that in a written contract, but another thing is to sit down and really understand each other. So yeah, I'm in it for the long run, and I want my partners to also be in it for the long run.
I love that. So you knew you wanted to do these igloos before you even started. Where did you find the design or concept of these igloos as an actual structure?
So yeah, I was looking for quite a bit to find like the structure that I liked, and there's a lot of domes out there, like you mentioned in the beginning. You can find a lot of these. There's different variations, but then I came across someone called Norwegian Eye, which is also based in Norway, up in Tromsø, northern Norway. And they had designed these igloos. So I went to visit them and slept in one of these igloos. And I could feel the quality of them was, better than a lot of these domes that I had been visiting. They say they have like a lifespan of 20 years, which also was quite, if that's true, that's great. And I just like the uniqueness of having that full transparency, which is, as you also said, like it's different. So that's how I kind of decided that I wanted to go with them.
When did you start that process of finding the actual structure? Was it before you found the land, or what was kind of because you don't own the land particularly, the order of sequence can be then manipulated?
Yeah.
What was the order for you?
No, I am an all-in kind of guy, so I already had ordered 6 of these igloos without having the partnership with the landowners. So that was the order of these steps.
Yeah.
Then I put some pressure on myself, and I knew that I had to find 6 locations before, summer 2021. So I kind of agreed with Norwegian Eye, the ones that are distributors of the igloos, to buy these 6 igloos in February 2021. And then I had about 6 months to find the landowners.
Now, you buy these igloos, you have 6 months to find these landowners, you contact the municipalities and go to Google. When structuring these deals, did you come with that concept of 60-40 already, or did you, was that something that you kind of negotiated back and forth too? And then I'd love to pick out you touched on it a little bit, but the specific roles that consisted of the 60 and 40.
Yeah, no, I had, but I had, a presentation for the landowners, so they could also see what predictions I had for them regarding income, and it was never possible to negotiate on the 60-40. Because that would make it very challenging for me and my business model if some landowners were able to get more or any sort of benefits. I want to treat everyone similar, because now that I want to grow, into maybe having 20 locations in 2 years, then things have to be a little bit streamlined. Of course, now after 2 years, when some of the landowners have been kind of performing better, because this is also individual, the way they show customer service, cleaning, like these kind of things, which is so important for the reputation of the brand, then I can offer them a little bit more. Like then I can go up to 45%. But as a ground rule, then we start at 60-40, and that's it.
Nice. What are your utilities on the homes? I mean, if anyone's listening to this, pull up his website. I mean, they look spectacular. As for amenities that you offer, do you offer running water, electricity, or a bathroom or toilet? What do your utilities look like?
Yeah, so there's no running water or electricity, but we do have substitutes. So, you get a 5 liter, which I don't know in gallons, but at least, like a big can of drinking water.
Yeah.
That would be placed in the igloo before the guests arrive. And then we live off of the romance of living lights and some rechargeable like lamps, which we have been, sponsored by some brands that wanted to be part of this concept. So people during this time, winter time in Norway, where it gets dark at 4 p.m., and that's where people check in, then I think a lot of babies are made in these igloos because there's just so much of these like intimacy between people, and that's based off of that people go a little bit more back to basic, where you don't have the running water and you don't have the electricity. You do have a wood stove, so you have unlimited amount of wood, so you can keep that running, and that will give you a comfortable temperature in the igloo. Regarding toilet and bathroom, then we have a traditional utedo, which is the name in Norwegian, and it is a building, like it's a separate building, but it is more or less a hole in the ground, but it is camouflaged so that it looks like a toilet, and it's very charming. It has a heart in the door, so you can sit on the toilet and you can look out on nature through the heart. Like, that's part of the concept.
I love that. Now, you get it up and running. You mentioned there's a wood burning stove. Igloo is not traditionally insulated with traditional insulation. How does the heat relatively stay within the igloo?
No.
It doesn't.
No. So this is where it's important for me to communicate very clear that when you book a night in one of these igloos, especially during the winter time, then you have to be a Viking, more or less. You will be really having a comfortable temperature as long as you are awake and you keep that oven fired. But if you are going to sleep and you don't get up every hour to put in more, then you will be cold. So that's also part of the experience where, it's not for everyone during winter. During summer, of course, you get help from do you say greenhouse? No, well, they're heated up by the sun. And sometimes during like midsummer, then it gets really, really warm. So also during these 2 years, I've experienced there are improvements that needs to be made to the actual model, the igloo itself.
What would those be?
Well, there's more need for air. So during summer, then we almost have the midnight sun here. And if one of the igloos are standing in the middle of the sun, it's going to get very hot in there. So I want to design a model where you can actually open, like almost like a sliding door, where you can open up half of the igloo and you can choose whether you are, more or less outside, but you still have the furniture and everything. Then also, of course, I want to explore regarding alternative ways of heating, because I know there can be, like floor heating without having electricity, stuff like that. So I might be teaming up now with an architectural firm that are specialized in sustainable constructions, and then design my own model.
That would be incredible. When you do, you have to send me some designs.
Yeah, this is where I'm looking for an investor. So if anyone out there who's listening know anyone, then please get in touch.
I love that. Okay, so you get up and running. Your typical, at least in the U.S. market, the booking channels that are big out here are Airbnb and VRBO. And then a lot of people do direct bookings. I know that you have your direct booking sites. Are you on other property booking channels as well, besides your direct bookings?
Yeah. We're on Airbnb, booking.com, which is new. The booking system that I am using right now, they just recently, like 1 week ago, told me that they are now, they don't exist anymore because they have been, what do you say when they are broke? They are, yeah.
They like go bankrupt?
Exactly, bankrupt. So that is a new challenge, finding a new booking system, but there's several out there. But yeah, so Airbnb, booking.com, then something called Companion, which is a Scandinavian platform for unique accommodations. There's also Away, which is a Danish one, which is for camping and glamping. And a couple of other, I'm also now just recently partnering up with the biggest hotel chain in Scandinavia called Strawberry. And so they will package two nights at the hotel, at Strawberry Hotel, and then 1 night with HvilePust. So it's like a 3-day package that you can buy. And you can book through their system. So, I'm always looking for new, ways of partnering up and also get into different platforms without watering out the brand, of course.
That is a great strategy that I haven't heard before, actually, is partnering with a hotel to do a 3-day, 3-night stay.
It's great.
I think that it's actually really, really smart. Do you have you guys gone live with that yet?
No, we just last week agreed and signed the deal. So I'm now we're going to build up these pages, the packages, and then it's going live in probably 2 weeks. Just after Christmas, I think, after New Year's, after the holidays.
Nice. Well, best of luck with that. I mean, that sounds incredible. Your percentage bookings on your direct bookings to other platforms, where does most of your bookings come from?
Definitely through our own webpage. So percentage-wise, I would say 80% is coming through our webpage. The rest is divided between Airbnb, booking.com, and the other ones.
What do you think the best strategy that you've implemented to drive direct booking sales?
I have put a lot of effort into social media, So, and I'm very not concerned, but I'm not only building, my plot of land and doing, gonna live out of that for the next 10 years. I'm building a brand, and it is then important for me to have most of the traffic go in through my webpage. So I'm investing money and time into especially Instagram and influencer activation marketing. this is what I have learned from, working in New York as well with building up the publication, how to work with influencers, and not only the most obvious ones, but also pick, micro influencers that might target a little bit of a different market. And not only the ones that are so interested in nature, but you want to find someone that, might be, representing a different, like a diverse range of religions, of interests, of age range, So
well, let's dive into that. I think that's super interesting because we do the same thing. We prefer working with micro influencers rather than like these massive influencers.
Yeah.
One, because I think most of the time the content is actually better because they take more time with it and they think it through more.
I agree.
And then two, financially, it's a lot better to work with micro influencers. But develop, like what we've done, and I think that what we're in the process of doing that I like is we're trying to find micro influencers that are growing and build a consistent relationship with them. So it's not just like, it's like, hey, we want you at the property every 6 months. And then as they grow, we'll grow with them. And so we see a lot of potential in working with influencers that we see that are rising rather than already have a big following. And then we're trying to capture them. But like as they grow, we're growing with them. So we just had a girl from the East Coast who is getting into buying land. And so she's working with like the Amish to build her own thing, but she's constantly growing in her community, and she already has a community, but she's constantly growing in it. And we've seen the biggest ROI on our socials by working with her, even though the content isn't traditional influencer content, it's more strategic to like her community. And as she grows, we've seen a direct correlation with that.
Yeah. I totally, your thoughts and your strategy totally aligns with the way that I'm working. So it sounds like you are even more strategic about building an influencer community. I have a pool of, influencers that I continue to work with as they grow. But I haven't been, formalizing it too much yet.
What does your agreements typically look like with your influencers?
So they get a free stay and they have to post a minimum of 3 stories and 1 post.
1 in-feed post on Instagram.
Say that again.
1 in-feed post on Instagram and then 3 stories?
Yeah. That's with micro influencers that are non-paid. That's the minimum. But
do you have them, their in-feed post? Do you have you marked as a contributor so it shows up on your channel as well?
They do. They have to do that because that's the law here. They have to tag it as a paid partnership, even though it's a barter deal.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I don't have on my phone, but basically on Instagram, we make sure all of our influencers they mark. You could do paid advertiser, but you can also mark it as a
collaborator.
A collaborator, which then it shows up on our feed as well as their feed. Do you guys do that with your?
No, not yet. But there's also something here that I want to, get more structured about, because I'm still kind of, even though it's been 2 years, and as I mentioned, I have like a few that I'm working with continuously, but I also find that some of those that I find and work with, they get kind of picked by some of the other like places that also do unique accommodations, and then their content are not as good anymore. So I'm still kind of exploring, because I know micro influencers have more engagement, like in Norway, you would define a micro-influencer up to 50,000 followers, like maximum.
Wow.
And they have more engagement. Yeah, so I'm still kind of like testing. And then at some point, I need to be more structured with, kind of having a community thing. Also inviting them for events and stuff like that. And have them get more, you don't say props, but more benefits from being part of the community, more than just to stay. So yeah, I need to package it in a way.
I like that. So you handle all guest communication, pricing, all of anything that arises with the actual property with guests. Now, you have your landowners that are the cleaners as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to hire any external cleaners?
No.
That's amazing. And then what are their, so I call it the dream team, right? It's the people that like keep the property going. Any maintenance stuff, are they in charge of that as well?
It's a split here, because if there's something that needs maintenance with the actual igloo, like if there's a water leakage, which has happened, then I'm the one responsible for fixing that. If the floor needs to be painted, then the landowner will do that. So it's quite detailed actually in the contract, what they need to maintain and what I need to maintain.
So basically anything that happens with your actual structure, you take care of. Anything that happens with the land per se, they take care of.
Yeah, I mean, not me, because I own no practical sense at all, but I get people to do it, yes.
I love that. That is amazing. Okay, great. Any mistakes that you've kind of made along the way that you would advise people to not make?
There's a lot. I think one of the biggest mistakes, now looking back at when I started, I do like to go all in. I should not have started with 6 locations. I should have started with 3 or even 2, and then learn from, 3 months, evaluate, develop, and then expand. 6 locations from, without any investor and handling all of that myself. It's a lot. Now it's more, now it's fine because it's been already adjusted. But in the beginning, there was a lot of, that's just too much with 6. So keep it simple and keep it small in the beginning, and then go big afterwards. But still keep it boutique and keep it personal and keep it according to your vision and your heart, because it's easy to get, because as we talked about, my igloos do not have electricity or running water. There's so many fancy, like unique accommodations, glamping accommodations. And I can sometimes be like, oh, fuck, I should have, maybe gone a little bit more high end. But I still believe in the experience of coming a little bit more back to nature, and that people like to leave their phone and live by the fireplace and the candle lights and, those kind of things. So I'm sticking to that. But it's easy to get once you get to know your friends or competitors, however you want to define them, it's easy to get a little bit distracted. So just keep your direction and believe in it.
I think that's really important. And I mean, that's probably the number one lesson that I stress on this thing is being able to, once you have your vision and idea of how it should be, don't let people sway you from that vision. Mm-hmm. Because I know a lot of people that have started this and then throughout time have, through reviews or through other things, have changed and basically became a puppet to the reviews or to investors or to other things, and it lost what made them special in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so like, I know a lot of people that didn't have power and they were like, we just want candlelight, we just want like little light, no phones. But then you have the people that come and the city people that come and they're like, well, we want running water and AC units and all this power, and then invest a ton of money to do that, and then look back and be like, well, we just lost the special part that made us who we are. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there is a give and take in this journey of being able to learn and constantly be better, but also stick to who you are fundamentally and why you created the property that you created. So I'm all on board with, if you created it with the idea of no power and that you want couples to have extracurricular activities there together, and with no power, stick to that. I like that. I like the concept of being able to stick to what makes you special. And so I think that you do that phenomenally as well. So,
but still within, and I agree. And then within that framework, like, if I still, I'm going to keep on not having electricity or running water, but you can still do more, you can develop more within that framework. So back to like developing a new model for these igloos, there can be, like some innovation done there. Without compromising the electricity and running water. And I think also I just wanted to comment on your, regarding not becoming a product of reviews, because I've had complaints during winter because people have been freezing. And I could easily be like, okay, now we just got to get solar panels and we got to start doing electricity right now because we got 1 out of 100 or 1,000, whatever, bad reviews. But then I think it's more about communicating what's actually the experience that you can expect. And also not let that bad review or those 2 or 3 bad reviews affect you too much. Because we are different as people, and some people are not supposed to come visit your place.
And some people are just miserable.
That's true.
I mean, what we found, some people are just live their life in a constant like misery, and I've had to learn how to accept that, and that's been the hardest thing. Of like, some people just complain, and that's just their thing, and whatever's going, and we don't know what's going on before that. They could have had a terrible day at work. They could have had a fight with their spouse. They could have had any number of things before they show up to our property, and one little thing at our property, which wouldn't have affected them other than at that moment specifically, ticks them off. And so I think that there's definitely, you never know the emotional state that the guests will arrive in, and trying to please everyone, it's never going to happen.
No, I hear you. And I also hear you regarding, some people are miserable in the way that they also almost find pleasure in finding the mistakes. We've had pictures sent by email with one here, like here, not here, but like one piece of here that they have found behind the couch. And then I'll be like, and they want full refund. And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you found one here out in nature, and I'll be friendly, of course, but I cannot give you a full refund." These are people that are looking for mistakes also when they go and visit hotels or any other experience because they want things for free. That's my assumption, at least,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because I don't think that they understand that it's a real person behind all of this.
No, that's
And it's not like you're a massive company with billions of dollars that can just you can give free night stays and not have to worry. Like this, you're running a business and you're a business owner that isn't backed by a large hedge fund or a huge investment, and so and a lot of people think that it's just a computer, like they're on social media, that they're just talking to a computer. And so we found is really successful is if any time a guest is having an issue or anything, we call them. And that's been the number one thing that's helped us, is that when they hear our voice and we say, "Hey, I'm so sorry, like I'm Lex, I'm the owner, what can I do to help?" Like that conversation immediately, because they get triggered with a voice that they're like, shoot, this is an actual person who cares, who wants to help, rather than just texting an angry photo via email of a piece of hair.
Oh,
So
that's a good advice.
that's been the number one tool for us.
I'll take that with me. I think I'm too coward sometimes to actually pick up on a call. I like emails.
It's scary when people are complaining. It's scary to do it, but we found that the reviews, at least, they're easier on the reviews and they're kinder on the reviews rather than if we just deal with text message, they think it's someone.
Yeah, I know.
It's
recent. I mean, it's a good move to actually call and get some, like a person behind the actual business there.
Yeah. All right. So we call it experiential travel because I think at the end of the day, what we're offering isn't just a night in a hotel, and your property, is the definition of offering experience. Do you have a story in mind that resonates with experiential travel, like a guest coming in and having an experience that really solidifies why you're doing what you're doing?
It's a little bit more challenging for me because I am not first-hand with the guests. So I hear their stories through Instagram, or I read in the guest book and everything, and it's touching and all of that. So we've had proposals, we've had several proposals, and we've had, of course, like a lot of birthdays and whatever. But so I can't pinpoint one story just because I am not there on site.
Yeah, no worries. What about for you? Was there a time that you stayed at one of the properties, or when you were starting the properties, that it kind of hit you of this means what it actually means for you as the operator?
Yeah, I've been sleeping in all of the locations, different seasons. I think January of this year, like 2023, I was sleeping in one of these igloos with minus 15 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit, it's cold, and it was dark. Beginning of January, it's dark all the time. But it was so magical, just this whole inside-outside kind of experience. It's a little bit mind-blowing because you're growing up with being inside of four walls, and then of course you have windows and everything, but then it's something about having like the nature inside while you're still comfortable, and then you add on that it's -15 and it's winter and it's winter wonderland. And I was there with a buddy of mine, and of course, you know, we were having wine and everything, but it was just a quite intense nature experience with being there, but still being able to be in a day bed and just looking up at the stars, and you know, like, it was just great. So yeah, there's I think maybe that was the one who I was. It's also the most recent one, but it's
Yeah, I love that.
special. Yeah, and then also waking up in the morning, and it's to me, I don't really mind that I'm a little bit cold, because you know, when you have good duvets and everything, like, you're warm, but it's going to be cold when you get up and you need to go to the restroom, for example. But that is part of the, again, going back to nature kind of experience.
Absolutely.
Hate it in the moment, appreciate it later, and remember it.
I couldn't have said it better. Rolf, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me.